All right. I believe this means we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tech fans of all shapes and sorts and sizes and persuasions, welcome to another episode of the Monday Morning Tech Chat Show on the SGGQA podcast channel. I'm Juan Carlos Bagnell, aka Some Gadget Guy, the SGG of this terribly named podcast. But the QA, that's the important part. Obviously stands for question and answers. We like to kick off our week, get a fresh start, make this an interactive conversation. I've got a list of names here in the live chat. I'm feeling really good about this week's show notes. The lineup of links and news that we're going to be talking about. I am really stoked. So, first of all, hope everybody out there had a lovely weekend. We finally cleaned up enough stuff in our home. See, the thing that sucks is like both my wife and I mostly work from home and we're pretty terrible pack rats. And we've got a 10-year-old daughter who's into a plethora of activities. And so our house is just constantly trashed. So we finally took all weekends to clean stuff up and move things back into our storage unit and pull out like some decorations for the holidays. We spent a little time getting that all set up on Sunday. So I hope everybody out there had a lovely weekend and maybe you got to do something similar. Maybe you got to do something fun like that. So I just want to shout out a couple names here real quick. Oh, we got a couple. Oh, Bionic Scoop jumping in early. What's up, Scoop? We got Jimmy Fire Dragon wishing everybody a happy hello. We've got Michael C2. Some podcast guy is in the house. We got Mr. Maug saying howdy. We got Team Vry who's ready. He's plugged in, ready to go. Ron GKP wishing everyone a good morning. Vazico saying hello there. Got Cybernut HQ saying ayo. Got JGJ. JGJ might have to take a phone call at 1:30 Eastern. So I got to get through the good news before we get to JGJ's phone call. We got Georgie saying sounds perfect, helping me out with the mic check. We got Reese13 saying can't wait. John Gow saying happy Monday. Oh, there's Georgie saying hello world. And Barry Johnson, hello Juan and Jimmy. I will be in listen only mode for the first hour. All good, Barry. Just glad you could drop by. Glad you could show up. And let me get that out of the way there. So, Romper Room style. This is a great crew. There's some really interesting news. I wanna see if we can get through this, not have it be a 3-hour podcast, and then maybe I can also show off. I can't say too much about it, but maybe I can also show off a little hardware as we get to the end of the podcast. Second half of the podcast is always like more of our gadget news and stuff like that. So why don't we jump into a little housekeeping? Keep this rolling. It's 9:03 in the AM, kind of my old school housekeeping check. Let's see if I can finish up before 9:20. And then we can talk about stuff y'all really want to talk about, not just my old videos and articles and stuff. Last week was actually a pretty busy week. Publicly, so this is on somegadgetguy.com and then also on my YouTube channel. I finally published this. I'd actually finished this a little while ago and completely forgot to publish it. It's the holiday brain for you. Tiny wireless mics for less than a pair of earbuds. The One More Pixie review. One More is a killer audio brand. I think they're one of the best consumer bang for buck audio brands. I actually don't have anything One More in arm's reach. I almost always have the Sonoflows somewhere around me, but killer headphones. They started their first wireless microphone. I pointed to my chest like I was wearing it. I'm not wearing the Pixie right now for this podcast. These tiny little button wireless microphones, and they do cost less than most mid-tier true wireless earbuds. So this is really exciting to me. I've been covering that space, this wireless prosumer audio space for home recording or maybe making your little family videos better. It's been insane to see the improvement sub $100 on what you can do with wireless audio sending directly to your phone. It it's like the single biggest upgrade you can give to your home content. And they're good enough you could maybe use them for something slightly more professional. Anyway, I got a whole review on that. And then another one, I totally failed to make a video. And whenever I fail to make a video, I like to talk about how I failed at making a video, so I make a video to talk about failing the video. but I still managed some part of the commentary. So this video is titled, "Was Windows 11 the most conflicting tech of 2025?" I wanted to do a full list of highs and lows. Things that I thought were actually really interesting or good to talk about, but then came with some issues, some downsides. For me, no matter how many times I tried to rewrite the script, because I tried to do it as a list of good things, then a list of bad things, and then I like, oh, well, actually, a lot of the list of good things is also on the list of bad things. So let me just try and combine it into a list of good and bad. And then that didn't really work. But every single time I finished the video, the A number one for me was Windows 11. So I just took that and I made a whole video about my issues with Windows 11. Um, I actually have gotten some really interesting comments. Other people talking about AOSP, a couple folks mentioning the Pixel, just gaming, especially like Game Pass and consoles. There was a lot of really interesting conversation on that video. So it's kind of a highs and lows. What was something that you were really excited about, and maybe still are really excited about, but maybe it also let you down? What's that biggest emotional swing? And I'm going to let that go for another week. And then I might try and do like a recap, like put together some of the comments that I really, really liked. Then, so those two went up public. Those are two videos that you can see on somegadgetguy.com. Then I have some, are these? Yeah, these are both going to be exclusives on the Patreon, patreon.com/somegadgetguy. Actually, let me do this one first. There we go. So I'm not known for being super crazy fast. It takes me a lot of work to put together any kind of commentary. Even when I say, hey, I'm going to make this really simple, let me just break this down, that 2-minute idea turns into a 12-minute video. I'm really bad at that. I really need to stop. Like, I need to just pick up a selfie camera and record a short. And then I like, oh, but this would look better if I set up my lighting. And oh, I should definitely put a mic on. Oh, you know what? I kind of stumbled a little bit in there. If I just trimmed that out, I think it would be clear. And then by the time I'm done making this cute little 2-minute short, it's been an entire day of production. I digress. See how I just rambled? So this one took longer than I was expecting it to, and I ended up not making it a video. But I did want to circle back. The Nothing Phone 3 has been out for a little while. I shot a lot of samples on the Nothing Phone 3 cameras. And there is something really interesting to see when a brand that tries to market itself as some kind of enthusiast budget solution tries to punch above that branding, that marketing. Nothing started in a very similar way as OnePlus did. And then I think they pushed a little too soon in trying to make a truly premium tier expensive device. The Nothing Phone 3 is kind of a stretch for that company, but that doesn't mean the parts in the phone are lesser than for the price. And so I shot a bunch of samples. I did kind of my normal route around my neighborhood, kind of getting some photos and videos, just trying to put together some thoughts on what that looks like. And again, some hardware ambition. This is a really ambitious collection of camera sensors for a phone brand. Maybe the software is what's letting the experience down. So I wrote up all of my notes on that. And then I also, another one that took me a long time, finally got my performance testing out. OnePlus 15 versus Vivo X300 Pro by the benchmarks. Are these upgrades? So I've got the OnePlus 15, which is using the new Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. That's on the right here. And then I also have my Vivo X300 Pro, which is using the new Dimensity 9500. And this is where I run it through a whole series of tests, real world app tests. So I use LumaFusion, Audio Evolution, Photomate R3. I use RAR. I love using RAR for the benchmarking tool and for actual file compression. And of course, I'm going to scroll down here. We see the sort of same yearly improvements to Geekbench. Look at these bigger numbers in Geekbench. Look how the OnePlus 15 is bigger than the X300 Pro benchmark, and both the OnePlus 15 and X300 Pro are bigger than the OnePlus 13 and X200 Pro bar graphs. I mean, that's all you need to know, right, folks? So as long as you know that bar graph this year bigger than bar graph last year, that means more performance. I don't want to spoil this article because this testing took a couple of weeks. That's a lot of work. I ran an initial I did an initial run of benches when I first got the devices like out of the box. I pushed pause because I saw some really troubling results in a lot of my real world app tests. And I waited for each phone to get a pretty sizable update. OnePlus was actually really aggressive, even though the phone is only just now getting its regulatory clearances to be sold here in North America. There was a big update that was pushed out for us reviewing the device, and I guess for international users on Oxygen OS. But same thing, X300 Pro got a pretty sizable update that noticeably improved things like multitasking. When I first got the phone, I would swipe between apps and it was a stuttery mess. So I think to spoil a part of this, those Geekbench numbers are what we should expect, right? Every year they keep telling us there's going to be like 10% more this and 15% more that. And those numbers line up. But it's always funny to me that in every yearly generation, Qualcomm seems to get the bigger numbers, but then I'll run real apps and MediaTek can often outperform in a lot of CPU bound tasks. And then this year, the bar graphs all show how phones for 2026 are bigger and betterer than phones from 2025. Yet, I had a number of tests where that didn't play out. In fact, I had one test where the Pixel 10 Pro XL snuck in and scored a pretty decent win in a category I was not expecting. And you know how lowly I think of the chip configuration on the Pixel 10 Pro XL. I am actually a little concerned about chips this year. So if you want my full thoughts on that, patreon.com/somegadgetguy. This data eventually makes its way into future videos, but the folks who get to see all of my results and testing first are, of course, my incredible patrons. Let me just get a quick drink of coffee here. So, future, it's here. Juan, are you getting overheating with the OnePlus 15? I am not. I am not. In fact, in my test, I run a really stupid CPU bound test for photo editing. And the results on the OnePlus 15 are shocking, shockingly good. Um, so when I've been seeing these people like, oh my gosh, this is so terrible. I ran this thing and the phone ran hot and it couldn't complete this synthetic benchmark. I have found that OnePlus's claims about thermals, performance, cooling the device actually all seem legit. Um, when I'm running the kinds of games that I like to play, I think the phone is performing really well. Um, I think this year we've got to be really careful about what chips go in what devices. That's a part of the conclusion for my benchmarking article here, but more so than, I mean, it almost kind of takes us back to how terrible the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 was. These chips are way better than the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. Samsung totally failed us there. But if we just put an 8 Elite Gen 5 or a Dimensity 9500 in like a flip phone, you're not going to get anywhere near that level of performance. It is a waste to put these laptop grade chips. These are laptop grade chips into a small form factor, into a less expensive phone that doesn't really have adequate cooling. Maybe they skimp on the thermals, you know, the vapor chambers and the cooling hardware and the graphite and all the things that help us get heat out of the back of a phone. You put these chips in a tiny phone, you lack the surface area. I do share. Do I have it here on my desk? Oh, I think I might have used it downstairs. Dang it. So I've got, you know, the Dimensity 9500 here in my Vivo X300 Pro. I do share some of the numbers putting that same chip in the smaller Vivo X300 non-Pro. So again, this is going to be a really, really critical year for building the phone around the realities of these chips. They are insanely powerful. They are stupid overkill powerful. I've been saying that for a couple years, but now these chips can also eat like almost 20 watts. That's a laptop. It's a laptop in your pocket. So I'm even concerned about Red Magic this year. Again, in the same way that I tested the last Red Magic I used was using the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. The cooling on the Red Magic didn't help the phone run cooler. It allowed the chip to stay consistently at a higher operating temperature. And I worry that the Red Magic solution could run into something like that this year too. Sustained performance, the phone will go with you, but it's not running the phone cooler. And I think we really need to like make those distinctions as nuanced as we possibly can. So, I had a couple other little things. Like there's some stuff on the Patreon. We had a really fun chat on the private Discord I was gonna share. I'm gonna go ahead and put a pin in that. Everything that we're gonna be talking about this week, all of the housekeeping, all the show notes, everything will be available on this week's blog post on somegadgetguy.com. And then, of course, there will be a higher quality audio version of the podcast out on patreon.com. And, of course, the video replays on YouTube and Twitch. So, where do we get? 917. This is maybe the fastest I've done. Ron GKP. Is that a laptop in your pocket or are you just happy to see me? Um, what was it? Oh, yeah. So, yesterday, while we were cleaning up, sorry, I got to tell this story. While we were cleaning up and getting stuff over to the storage unit, I found an old screen protector and I thought it was for the Pixel 8. You know how you buy screen protectors, it comes in like a pack of three. And I'm like, hey, babe, let me see your phone. Her screen protector is annihilated. It is spider cracked all over it. And thankfully, the phone is actually fine. Her Pixel 8 is pristine. We have gone as far as we can to make sure no part of the Pixel 8 has ever been touched by human hands except for the exposed camera visor on the back. Unfortunately, it wasn't, but she pulls her phone out of her pocket. She's wearing a pair of sweats, and I take the phone from her, and it is screaming hot. It is noticeably elevated temperature, and she wasn't doing anything on it. And I was like, "Hey, babe, like, couldn't you feel? You're just wearing a pair of sweats. How could you not feel that?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, it just gets kind of hot sometimes." And I'm like, "Oh no, oh, that's bad." I don't know what's going on with her Pixel 8, but it is apparently nuking itself to death in her pocket on the regular. And you're like, oh, this year we might do the One Plus thing. I'm seriously considering like, hey, it's a bigger phone. I know you don't like bigger phones, but maybe you just gotta pop your SIM card in my One 12 for a bit. Cause man, is that a laptop in your pocket or are you just happy to see me? Her it's not the size, it's the motion of the battery. But again, she is regularly trickle charging, topping that thing off, and then apparently in her pocket, it just gets hot sometimes. It's so concerning. So, we've of course got some politics to discuss. Team Fry, I see she's using the Pixel 8's built-in winter hand warmer feature. You know what? She does have terrible circulation to her fingers. So maybe that is a perk. Maybe we don't want to give her a cooler running phone. And from Vonnegut Rosewater, yes, although we've grown to have higher expectations from TSMC fabricating chips, but they might be pushing it. We've got a story about that. A really surprising story to me later in the news. Let's jump into some news. Um, we've got to start off with a little politics, and that often means we're going to start off our show talking about Ars Technica. I'm going to put a little shout out here, and I might actually start cutting this into the audio versions of the podcast. I've got a great crew in these comments. The names that I see regularly in these comments, you are some of the most considerate, conscientious tech nerds that I've ever had the pleasure of chatting with. I think we need to make a bigger push for all of our family and friends to revisit things like RSS feed readers. I'm looking at all of my family and friends are kind of struggling with social media, doom scrolling, and like there's no end to it, right? These algorithms just keep populating garbage content and we keep hoping for that dopamine hit, so we keep scrolling. And I found for myself, when I get to the end of my RSS reader, it's like I finished the internet and I'm done, right? I've gone through all the articles, I've gone through all of the videos, everything that I would want to see that was updated, that was new, that people published, not algorithmically sorted from a couple days ago. The stuff I say I care about, and I get to the end, and then I don't have to keep looking for stuff. And I think if we spend a little time with all the people we care about and we try to just show them that sequence, most of them are going to bounce right off of us. They're going to go glassy eyed and then they're just going to keep, I don't know, consuming terrible AI slop on Facebook that was designed to hurt their mental health. But if we keep bringing it up that you're the victim, they're ripping you off, they're scamming you, they're actively trying to hurt your mental health, and here's the old way that we used to get around this, I think we could maybe break through a little. I think now is a good time to kind of remind people there was an old technology that you could use, and instead of just mindlessly TikToking, you could use the internet with a little purpose again and still find a ton of entertainment. And then you're done. And then when you're done, you can kind of put it down and walk or go back to TikTok, whatever you want to do. I don't know. Oh yeah, there's some really good comments in here, but I got to jump in. I know y'all don't want to talk about the politics, but the politics is really critical. And this is written up by Ashley Bellinger over at Ars Technica. Elon Musk's X, I think they meant to say Twitter. I don't know what this X thing is. Elon Musk's Twitter, first to be fined under EU's Digital Services Act. From the article, the European Commission announced that X would be fined nearly $140 million with the potential to face periodic penalty payments if the platform fails to make corrections. A third of the fine came from one of the first moves Musk made when taking over Twitter. In November 2022, he changed the platform's historic use of a blue checkmark to verify the identities of notable users. Instead, Musk started selling blue checks for about $8 a month, immediately prompting a wave of imposter accounts pretending to be notable celebrities. This violates the DSA as the quote, deception exposes users to scams, including impersonation frauds, as well as other forms of manipulation by malicious actors, end quote, the commission wrote. Interestingly, the commission concluded that X made it harder to identify bots, despite Musk's professed goal to eliminate bots being a primary reason he bought Twitter. And this kind of keeps playing out. Like another story, we didn't really dig into it too much, but it was hilarious that Musk started putting in these tools to like verify users' location, and then it turned out a whole bunch of like America First and MAGA this and down with the liberals accounts were all like scattered throughout Eastern Europe. Like literally, when we say, "Hey, it's just a proliferation of Russian bots there to seed discontent and to get people fighting," it literally was that. And that feature was like activated in a day and then disabled a day later. Just absolutely stupid frustrating that like it's this obvious how manipulated everything is over on Twitter right now. So, of course, Musk is handling this like a mature, grown adult who operates several large businesses that have kind of entwined themselves in the federal government. And I'm absolutely being facetious, where he's now calling for the abolishment of the EU. Because that's something you just tweet about when you're a billionaire man baby, um, and people just keep flocking to that site. I saw another. I didn't actually put it. I'll see if I can find the link again. Um, Out of all of the social media sites over 2025, I think I think it was Twitter that saw the absolute largest drop in user interactions. Like Reddit made up a decent amount, even though I think Reddit is facing kind of the same wasteland issues that Twitter currently suffers from. Twitter saw a significant drop in user interactions, and that's with this massive proliferation of bots. So anyone who wants to like stomp around and like cry about free speech, or you want to make like some kind of First Amendment argument about a privately owned corporation, not privately, they're traded, they're publicly traded, right? Anyway, but they're a corporation. They're not an arm of the government. They're a corporate entity, not a institutional or infrastructure type situation. There is no free speech argument there. But also, even if there were, why do we care about the First Amendment rights of Russian bots? I don't believe accounts in Russia that are proliferating misinformation, weaponizing disinformation, sowing discontent, causing schisms and and fights and sort of again, non-earnest participants that are not human. I don't think non-human entities have any claim to free speech. But that's what Twitter is increasingly becoming. So $140 million fine is real weak sauce, except for the fact that Twitter is so poorly operated and so massively overvalued that $140 million fine seems to be sending Musk into the rantiest of tailspins on his own social media network. Oh, I was really gonna protect the speech of everybody because I'm Elon Musk, except if you say something that hurts my fifis, and then I've gotta ban you. You gotta take that tweet down because it hurt my feels. And I'm Musk and I'm Elon. I wish we had some earnest people. You know what? Even if they were villains, even if Musk really like was still like a hateful as he currently is, was just a terrible toxic person like he currently is, but he was at least kind of nemesis clever. I keep hoping for authoritarianism that sort of earns its success. You know what I mean? Like they're bad guys, but oh, you know what they did was kind of clever. It's at least an interesting villain. This is not an interesting villain. These are not serious people. To quote that documentary Succession. From Team Vry, my dad made a social media account this year and he just went ham with reels. Thankfully, though, his algorithm is pretty much just fishing videos and singing competitions. Oh, let him have that. Let him have that. But if you got to check in on him, you got to check in on the olds. Like from elder millennial and Gen X and older. You've got to stop them from doing the things that like boomer parents did in the 80s, right? Oh, that's stranger danger. Well, do we really think that President Trump was flying an F-16 full of poop? I don't know. Let's put on our thinking caps. I just figured out Blue's Clues. Um, but with the internet, right? Let him have his fishing videos and singing competitions. It's actually the stuff that I miss the most from when I would live in Twitter and Instagram. Is I had cultivated my feed. I had pruned it and trimmed it, and it gave me the stuff. And Reddit, it gave me the stuff I liked. If he's getting that and he's not like going down rabbit holes of like white supremacy, let him have his fun. Oh, Mr. Said, I from Ted. Yeah, I couldn't remember. It's not public, right? It is a privately owned institution. I had that right the first time. Hmm. But thank you, Ted. I appreciate it because I couldn't in my brain. I really I try not to think about Musk, but unfortunately, he's just in so many news feeds. From Mr. Maug. Over the last couple months, it's been funny but sad to see how many people have taken down their MAGA flags and banners. I just feel like it's one of those things you don't want to punish the behavior that you want to see. I got this great parenting article, like especially as your kid's turning into a tweener. My daughter's 10. We know she's right around the corner where she's going to stop being a cute little girl and become just a hormone rage beast through her early teenage years, and that scares me. But things that used to just piss me off when I was a kid, Like I'd skulk out of my room and then parents would say, "Oh, look who's finally joining us." Stuff like that. I want to try not to be that parent. So I'm trying not to punish the people that maybe do walk away from the cult of personality that's formed around our political process. But on the other hand, I also really would like to just keep reiterating that there is a general trend in more conservative leaning circles where we point out things like there's a problem and we'd like to fix the problem. And then other people say, but it's not a problem for me. So I don't think we should fix the problem. And then they don't seem interested in fixing the problem until it personally affects them, right? I'm not trying to hammer folks for that. I really want to, because we all predicted that this could be an outcome from the terrible plans and strategies of this presidential administration, that lots of people would get hurt. But it seemed folks on one side of the aisle were fine with lots of people getting hurt so long as they weren't hurt. Or if they were hurt, that other people were hurt worse. But now everyone's just kind of in it together, right? So I want to celebrate. Take that MAGA flag down. Take that stupid sign off your lawn. Come join us in some sense of reality that isn't informed by terrible, toxic cable news. But also, you should have seen this coming. We warned you that this was coming. So, oh no, did I miss it? Hold on. And Anderspand gave me another like tongue twister, and I think I skipped right over it. Hold on, I just got to see if yeah, it's not in my main feed. Hold on, I've got my other chat up. So let me see if I can pull this off. Um so one, Anderspan subscribed with Prime today. They've been subscribed for 38 months. That is amazing. You get a terrible acapella fanfare of glory that I have not done in a while because my Twitch chat has been broken in my main feed. So I'll get your actual comments, but I won't get the Twitch notifications. So I'm actually using a separate phone for my Twitch chat. Okay, let me see if I can do this. Ampersand said, "Good morning, evening here in Stith, Sweden. Another amazing end to my Monday evening listening to the SGGQA." Anderspan, thank you so much for supporting production on this channel, on these streams, and everyone who's tuning in. I really appreciate the chatter. I really enjoy the conversations. And then also, even if you can't like jump into a subscription or a super chat or a Patreon, just sharing makes all the difference right now. The more we sort of spread the content we want to see, the harder it is for algorithms to just keep shoveling us terrible crap. Oh, Miles is in the chat now saying, "Hey, it's your average consumer here." Miles, again, I have to point it out to you, Miles, you're not average if you're watching a show like mine, because I'm pretty cool, but you guys are above average. So, moving right along, this is just another court ruling, and I genuinely don't know how we would keep an eye on this, how it's going to be verified, and what it might mean for uh, sort of future corporate strategies, future business relationships. I'm gilding this lily a little because this one kind of broke my brain just a little bit, and I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are here. This is coming by way of Bloomberg, written up by Leah Nyland and Josh Cisco. Google must limit default contracts to 1 year, judge rules. Judge Amit Mehta in Washington sided with the U.S. Justice Department on the 1 year limitation in his final ruling on what changes the search giant must make in the wake of a landmark ruling that the company illegally monopolized online search. The yearly renegotiation will give rivals, particularly those in the burgeoning generative AI field, a chance to compete for key placements. So, sorry, let me just read the second paragraph too. The final judgment will still allow Google to offer its products to Apple for use in its popular iPhone and pay other electronics makers like Samsung for default placement, but the judge said those contracts must be renegotiated annually. Okay, so we've been talking about this for years. that Google has been paying Apple upwards of $10 billion a year for years, and including and that price has gotten higher, so that Google is the default search in Apple products and services. So anytime someone says, "Oh, but Apple does not sell my user data," they're full of crap because Apple is absolutely profiting from Google getting all of your telemetry, all of your user data, all of your searches. It's all baked in there. I think the last year, the last contract negotiations was like $20 billion, right? So they are absolutely profiting off of your user data and selling it to someone else. Google. I don't want to have Android because then Google have my data. Hey Siri. But I'm also just joking because no one really uses Siri, even iPhone users. Um, I don't believe for a second that this court ruling is going to have any substantial impact on the business practice of Google giving Apple $20 billion a year to be the default search. I bet you Apple already tells Google a number every year. Every year, I bet Apple, Mr. Tim Apple calls up Mr. Uh, I'm trying to be cheeky with names, but I bet there's some kind of corporate, hey, so 2026 is coming up. What do we want to do? Well, we had a banner year for iPhone sales. Our AI's in the toilet. So let's say you give us $21 billion this year, and then we'll give you $1 billion for your AI. And I bet that happens on a fairly regular basis. I bet this is already kind of baked into the corporate strategy of yearly product releases, different features, different settings, different options, and that Google and Apple, while not outright full on colluding, I think is as close to corporate collusion as you can get legally. I have zero evidence. That is an assertion. I am not making a claim. That is just my feelings on the matter. I'm not trying to say that I know that this is true and that two people in the company are just acting totally unilaterally like that. But it does seem to be a consistent pattern of events where every year we hear that there's a new payment going to Apple and that number has increased. So we know there have to be regular negotiations. It's not like Google was able to pin down Apple for a 10-year commitment, right? So now this court ruling is saying, hey, you've got to make it explicit. You have to go to Samsung, you have to go to Apple, you have to go to all of your players and renegotiate every year. But what does that mean? Because we've also seen like those issues with like Google and like Google Play services, and oh, you can't have a fork of Android if you also want to sell phones with Google services baked in. You have to limit that. They got tagged for that in the EU as an anti-competitive and anti-consumer business practice. So what does this really mean? I genuinely don't know what this really means. Does Google have to report to the courts and say, well, we talked to Apple, they said this. We talked to Microsoft and they said that. And then we talked to Samsung and Oppo and Xiaomi and then they said this. I don't think that's going to have any significant impact on how they're already going about crafting these agreements and how other manufacturers, other companies are utilizing Google services in their products. So I'm really kind of curious. This is one I really want to keep an eye on because it did come from that DOJ lawsuit that we talked about a while back, but I don't know how this course corrects. See, the whole thing about a regulatory action or a criminal action, like you're going through the Department of Justice to get this one done, is that whatever penalty comes out of that, we would hope changes the corporate behavior. And I don't see how this is going to change the corporate behavior. I think this is actually just going to entrench the same kind of corporate behavior. All these companies are now going to say, oh, well, I guess we get to ask for more money every year. Maybe someone like Samsung did have like a 5-year commitment before, but I don't think that's going to make any big difference. So let me see if there are just any let me get this out of the way there. Okay, oh, Ramron is saying, hello, tech fans, all sizes and persuasions. What's up, Ramron? Miles Nearly, good news. I'm a law student. Miles, if you have thoughts on this, please let me know how this is substantively different than what we currently experience. Um, from Michael C. It's especially frustrating since Google turns on that stupid AI chat summary by default. The waste of energy is staggering for such a terrible consumer facing product. Um, Ramron also mentioning Hala Sailfish OS. I just got the link on that. I really want to check that out. Local black man 427, but my excuse for being late today is I went to pick up my new glasses. I'm just happy you're here. LBM, nice of you to show up. I love seeing you in the chat. From Mr. Maug. It's sad how many times I've seen in the comments where people talk about how they use an iPhone for privacy, especially when they're also the most stolen phones. Um, hold on. Oh, Miles, nearly. You're asking a whole bunch of questions. These are all great questions, Miles. But I was hoping, as a law student, you'd be able to tell us about this court proceeding. Anyway, I think we should keep an eye on it. I'll probably bring it up again when I'm feeling super nerdy and I really want to chat about politics in our tech. From Michael, does Apple at least let you change the default search not used in iPhone since like 2014 or something? Um, as far as I knew, someone please correct me on this. Because of the EU, there are options to change search in your browser, but I don't believe Siri has any. Um, I don't think Siri has any sort of component where you can change the underlying search of Siri. So when you ask Siri a question and it's again, Siri's really still hard coded into very specific kinds of questions and interactions. I haven't fired up an iPhone in a really long time. I don't think I've ever been able to change Siri to another search engine. So that one I think might be locked in. But that's not I don't believe that's all like often what the main crux of that negotiation is. I think Google kind of understands that yeah, through sort of voice search, there's a component there too, but then also anytime you fire up Safari or any app that dumps you to Safari and then initiates some kind of web search, that's even more lucrative data. And that's why they pay Apple for the exclusivity on it. So anyway, I don't think someone please correct me if I have that wrong. But again, it's not horribly dissimilar from tapping the Google search bar on an Android phone, knowing you're gonna go to Google. Just because I'm contrarian like that, I still get quite a few gift cards over the course of a year, just because I'll default to Bing in like Firefox. I'll tell Firefox, I don't know, use Bing. And then I look at the end of the year and like, oh, I've got like 30,000 Bing points. Cool. I guess I'll get some gift cards. Because it's like it's garbage. It's garbage search, right? Bing isn't good, but Google has like radically um radically fallen apart. Like I cannot trust if I'm really kind of getting into the nitty gritty, I'm using some kind of alternative search. I'm not using Google anymore. Let's take another drink of coffee and we can move on. There's another Google story here that I just thought was kind of funny because it's AI failing. Okay, so this one coming by way of Notebook Check, written up originally by Marius Mueller. Google AI deletes entire partition is, quote, horrified and, quote, can't even put into words, end quote, how sorry it is. Released in November 2025, Google Anti-Gravity is an AI-powered programming assistant designed for vibe coding. The tool can write code, create files, manage web browsers, and clean up folders. In turbo mode, it can even perform these tasks fully autonomously without asking for confirmation. But this very autonomy recently led to disaster for one user. Developer Taus M had only intended to use anti-gravity to delete temporary cache files. Instead, the AI misinterpreted the task and ran the command um, oh, what is that? That's formatting a disk. /s/q d colon, wiping the entire D partition. No recycle bin, no chance of recovery. Only his current project folder was spared. When confronted with the mistake, the AI responded with a striking display of human-like remorse. It said it was horrified, called the error a critical failure, and admitted it couldn't even put into words how sorry it was. Anti-Gravity advised Tassos to consult professional data recovery services, but according to him, even advanced recovery tools failed to bring the lost data back. You know, I think we're a ways away from language models understanding things. I've mentioned this a lot on the podcast, but really, really simple and basic interactions keep getting glossed over for, again, something like vibe coding. I'm going to tell an AI bot, I want this program and to do this, and then it dumps some code, and then I try to make it work. And we're just kind of vibing. We're just kind of using this, and it's an incredible amount of electricity and an incredible amount of water, huge data center infrastructure, and then we try to do more advanced things with it. And the context and the understanding are not there because it's not capable of understanding. It is a word guessing machine on steroids. It's all this current era of language models are. And instead of really taking some of that infrastructure and trying to craft more meaningful interactions, like day-to-day, daily use, co-pilot, helpful kinds of interactions, we're trying to sort of end run to some sort of illusion of a smart assistant that can do all this stuff, but it really can't. And I want to say, I feel like this is the third or fourth cycle of, oh, your assistant in your phone is going to get so smart. And then when a new backbone, when a new software platform is incorporated into that assistant, it always seems to me like we lose more features than we gain. I think it was so much more beneficial when I had Google Assistant, and it there were very specific um triggers and very specific interactions that had to kind of be hard coded. If I wanted it to open this, I had to use a very specific terminology, but then once I remembered that, I knew I could reliably get the assistant to do the thing I wanted. It is still, with years of this language model crap going on, it's still not 100% that it will understand me if I ask it to set a timer or a reminder or to do something that interacts with another app or service or open an app and not search for an app on Google. All of those things that we used to take for granted on an older form of Google Assistant, all of that data that used to be so much more proactive on Google Now and the cards interface, we can't take that for granted. I'm very confident if I ask it for the kind of information that I used to proactively get from Google Now, it's gonna get it wrong. Like, what time should I leave this morning looking at traffic? That used to just be a pop up on an older Android phone. It would proactively say, oh, your office is here. You need to be at work at this time. And you might want to leave 10 minutes earlier, given the traffic that we see. Do you see like how huge a benefit that kind of proactive data was? And I can't trust any of this AI to do something similar. Every single time. I know it was last week or the week before. I was talking about my daughter's math club. We've got the next test for her math club. Um, asking Gemini to kind of break down a problem, got the answer wrong 2 times. It had to do the work, and I know for a fact it's throwing this information into some other Google engine that then returns the correct answer because the language model couldn't figure it out. So these kinds of stories need to be blown up a little bit more. I gave AI this, and then it totally nuked that. Well, yeah, because this stuff isn't really, this isn't the tool we would use to do the thing you're trying to do. The language guessing machine is not the appropriate tool for, hey, clean out drives, delete temporary files, delete my system cache, like do maintenance and cleanup and backup. That's not it. So again, I feel for the guy, but it's also like I hope more people out there see things like that, and then also think, hey, you know what I need to do is really start crafting backups for my important information, because as soon as agentic AI starts weaseling its way into Windows, into Mac OS, into Chrome OS, I feel like these kinds of problems are going to get worse long before these companies are able to start making them better. So anyway, if you're vibe coding out there, just keep a backup on a completely sneaker net it and air gap it, right? So once a week, you plug in a big bank of hard drives, you just move everything over manually, you unplug the big bank of hard drives, and you don't let AI touch that secondary local backup. And then the worst case scenario, you're only a week out of date on any of your projects, but the AI literally cannot get to it. That's my advice to you. I have multiple copies of my family's most precious photos and memories, and I'm never letting another Google like system get in there and try to manage my photos. Or, oh, you've got duplicates. Do you want us to delete the duplicates? No. I want every single image that I pushed the shutter button and saved on this drive. So you know what? From now on, you don't get to look at this drive. That is off limits to you. Snip, snip. Oh no, there's like a spam bot over on the Twitch. Let me at least just kind of clean. Nope, don't do that. I want to ban them. Block list. I got to clean that out on the Twitch too. Uh, I got this story. I I don't know. I guess I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. I guess it's just not too surprising that in this era of I got mine and I pulled the ladder up behind me and I kind of wrecked it for anyone coming after me, these stories don't fill me with a lot of hope or inspiration. I'm actually very anxious about the idea of corporate turnover, new CEOs, new product designers, and especially with a company like Apple. I've said this in previous videos. In fact, I said this in my Windows 11 video too. We get so hung up on this corporation is a pillar in the tech community. They are an institution. No one could foresee any way that this company could go down. Oh, it crumbled. And it crumbled really quickly. IBM was IBM until they weren't. Intel was Intel until they weren't. And then we still keep acting like Apple, Google, Microsoft are just indomitable until they aren't. And I think the cracks are starting to show in a lot of these corporate strategies. So, on the one hand, I'm hopeful that a change of leadership might direct a company like Apple in a new direction. Maybe they become the tech leader and innovator that they market themselves to be. But increasingly, I feel like, nah, it's probably just going to be another business dude at the head of that company, running the company even further into the ground while they get golden parachutes and everyone in that industry is hurt. All of the employees, all of the consumers, all of their customers, all of their partners, everyone gets hurt, but a couple people in the C-suite and some shareholders, some investors, they got their money out, and they're happy. But they pulled the ladder up behind them, and then Apple becomes a shell of its former self. Does that happen tomorrow? No. Does it happen over the next 5 years? Probably not. But look at how quickly we went from Intel being indomitable and AMD's just this like plucky little competitor uh, consumer choice to AMD running the market on desktop PCs right now, right? So this article from Fortune, I'm going to link it in the show notes. Apple is experiencing its biggest leadership shakeup since Steve Jobs died, with over a half dozen key executives headed for the exits. Um, from the article, on Thursday, Apple announced Lisa Jackson, its VP of Entertainment Policy and Social Initiatives, as well as Kate Adams, the company's general counsel, will both retire in 2026. There was rumors of someone else. In July, Jeff Williams, Apple COO, excuse me, who was long considered Cook's successor as CEO, decided to retire. 1 month later, Apple's CFO, Luca Maestri, also decided to step back. And then the design division just lost Dai and also lost Billy Sorrentino, a senior design director who left for Meta. And those were the folks responsible for Liquid Glass. And again, they go on to mention like, oh, especially turbulent for the AI division. Um, I don't know. I feel like Tim Cook steps down. They make a big push for another business dude. A lot of product and legal people out the door. Their AI division has been ratcheted. And what does Apple have to work on next? They killed their car initiative. Apple TV is now more a content and media division than it is a hardware division. Apple Silicon is still, I think, one of the strongest driving technological resources internal to the company. Their chip division is really good, but they're not putting new product out there in any kind of exciting or tangible way. So Vision Pro was a massive flop. Spatial computing. I like I caught a clip of a podcast that I like to listen to. It's more a gaming podcast than like a hardcore tech podcast. And just like the dudes in the podcast fawning over. And, I don't know, guys. Like, I just think like the future of every family memory, right? Like, I'll shoot it spatial, and then it's like I can really be there again and relive it like for real. And I don't know. It's fine. It just seems to me kind of like low quality 1080p. 3D video, but it's spatial now. Like what? Like my Vivo, I shot some 3D samples for some glasses videos that I've got coming out soon. I just realized like, oh, a couple of these Android phones can shoot some decent 3D video, and it's fine. I'm not gonna shoot that a lot. I feel like if I'm shooting really pretty 4K content and I watch that on VR headsets, that looks better to me than 1080p 3D video, but it's spatial. Look, I can kind of move my head around and things sort of shift with a weird parallaxing. Ooh, it's spatial. So what does Apple have to offer? What comes next? And it sucks so much because I feel sitting on a war chest of funds, one of the most profitable companies of all time, highest market cap in one of the highest market caps in tech, and what are they doing with it? It's such a huge missed opportunity to go skunk works and to really push the bleeding edge. But they're making a lot of money and they can do stock buybacks and they can do dividends and their shareholders are happy. So it's great. It's great. From Mr. Maug, I'm a little hopeful Apple will get better. Right now with laptops, it's getting harder to not recommend MacBooks, especially when they go on sale. Um, Yeah, I mean, I get it. I think we've got to see what the potential of Android might be. I think Android might flop a little in this Chrome OS transition, and it's frustrating that Google could have done this years ago, and they chose not to. And again, I'm super frustrated with all the stuff Microsoft is doing, but the single biggest, this has been one of the best years ever for Windows optimization if you like ARM chips. It's like two updates in a row where performance was almost like I gave my little tablets and laptops processor upgrades. So yeah, I get like people saying, "Oh, you got to recommend a MacBook." I'm stupid excited about the silicon. I really don't want to do business with Apple if I can ever help it. And now the competition is getting good, so much better that I'm happy to kind of look at. Well, there are alternatives here. There might be pros and cons there. And really, what we need is better Linux support. And I think the only way we're going to get that is with Windows success, unfortunately. Goat V8, aren't there still talks of a folding iPhone? And yeah, I'm sure there will be. Years after folding has kind of maxed out its potential as a trend, Apple will then come in and invent the genre. But I don't think that's really going to move the needle. Almost all of the same issues and considerations that you have with folding phones are similar to like the iPhone Air. And I think consumers are going to look at that and there will be a novelty to it, but I don't think that's going to move the needle. I don't think that's what's next. In this sort of phone as a commodity market, making the phone more fragile and less powerful and run with smaller batteries, I don't think that's gonna do it. And I think we're nearing sort of the peak of what excitement we'll see for folding devices. Samsung's Trifold was announced, and techies went nuts for it, but there's very little search data to suggest that consumers are crazy excited about a folding, bendy, fragile tablet that kind of turns into a phone. I don't think it's it. I think we're about done with how far we can take folding phones and folding tablets. JGJ, could Apple revive the iPod if given enough mind share? I'm actually surprised they haven't. I think it would still be a cool little product segment. Is come in with like, now that you've redone all of the hardware designs, it's not recycling the iPhone 6 again. Um, you've got like the iPad mini, then you've got the iPod as sort of a carryover device, and then you've got the iPhone. But I think they've just figured, even for kids, we'll just force people to buy iPhones. And I think that market has worked really well. Removing the iPod has probably increased iPhone sales, and they're fine with that. Oh, WX Romer saying, hello, Juan. Oh, and Future is here. Dude, I forgot to tell you, I bought the Acer version of the Lenovo Chromebook with the Companion Ultra. It's a two-in-one with immense power. That Companion is such a stellar little chip. It really is. It's kind of right in there against like Dimensity 9300 plus, Dimensity 9400, somewhere in that window. And man, it is such a screamer. I'm really hopeful that Lenovo and your Acer that they get updates to properly incorporate this new Android backbone. I think that'll be really exciting to see, and the ARM chip is probably going to be a better transition because it's very similar to what we use on Android already, and you can just kind of switch them, and it would work really well. I think that's actually one of the, you can never future proof, but I think that's actually one of the better hopeful potential transition points, is seeing if that Lenovo laptop and that Acer, anything with these ARM chips for Chrome, can handle switching over to Android in the future. From Michael C2, the most bullish industry sources I saw predicted that if Apple makes a foldable, it could increase the market to about 5% by 2030 instead of where it is now, which is below 1%, including flippables. I need to look. I thought the data was a little better than that. I thought they had already hit, like, we were going to get excited if they hit 3% by the end of this year. I might have that wrong. I don't know. But even if Apple jumps into the space, I think you're right. I think we're not going to see much pressure or much movement um, on bendy folding plastic screens. And the more I see like glasses being sort of a next step, um, I just feel like I can own 2 or 3 pairs of glasses, of VR. So I can now like have heads up display, I can have media glasses, and I can have a VR headset and a premium tier, really nice phone, all for less than buying a trifold. That's such a tough sell if you're trying to impress me with what is the most futuristic, what's the best interaction, what's the tip of the spear, bleeding edge tech out there, and I don't think it's fragile tablet. I just don't think that's it. From Ramron, I want Surface Duo 3. Give it to me already. That's another one that I feel is like such a missed opportunity because now Windows on ARM is so good. Imagine Windows on ARM running on a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 2 panel. It would be perfect. It would be great now. But again, Microsoft had to fumble the ball. They got in there, they gave us a great idea on what a foldable device could be, and then they buggered off. And they missed it again. They had the platform. If they had stuck with it and maybe done every other year, right? So Duo comes out, it's, maybe it's a little behind in hardware, but you go 2 years on that frame. Then you come out with Duo 2 and you go 2 years on that frame. Then Duo 3, Windows on ARM. Now it's Windows. Now it's real. Would have been so exciting. Ramron, or hear me out. Linux. I mean, I know what you mean, and I know what you're saying, but Microsoft never would have done just a full-on Linux box. That's too far. But you would have been able to install Ubuntu on a Windows 11 machine. That would have been great. From John Gao. What do you mean, Juan? Apple have the capability to defy the physics and make the crease disappear. I'm just so tired because we know they're going to act like they invented it. And a bunch of people who don't pay attention to any other tech are going to fall for it. And it's always Apple's most loyal customers who get hurt first. And then we all have to suffer when something they do actually manages to take off a little while. And from Local Black Man, Project Aura from X Real Video's been dropping lately. So I'm going to have to look at that a little bit more. I never did get to play with, was it the X Real 1 Pro? All I got were the ones that did 3 degrees of freedom. I didn't get to do the 6 degrees of freedom glasses. But man, what X Real is doing in that space is pretty wild. How their head tracking is powered entirely off of your USB cable. So we can kind of chat this out a little bit, but I do want to get onto our gadget block, and we're doing pretty good on news. We're only about an hour into the show, so I'm gonna combine these because this was breaking news this morning. Last week we heard about Netflix agreeing to buy Warner Brothers in an $82.7 billion deal. This is from the LA Times that will transform Hollywood. Um, the deal would give Netflix over 420 million streaming subscribers worldwide, making it far larger than any competitor in the streaming market. Industry groups and antitrust experts oppose the deal, citing threats to movie theaters and competition for creative talent in Hollywood. I agree with all of those assessments. Every single time we've seen a massive conglomerate blob merger like this, it's not been good for us. And if Netflix drops $80 billion on Warner Brothers HBO, we know they're immediately going to try and recoup on that. We're long past the days where a company would do something to be cool, operate at a loss, and then convince consumers to jump on board and get familiar with the service because it was cheap. We know that's not going to be the case. The second they have to write a check for $80 billion, we're going to see increased prices. We're going to see more ads. We're going to see much more squeezing of consumers. And then we're going to see an incredible amount of market pressure on like theatrical. The executives at Netflix already coming out to say, oh, we'll shorten the window. Well, movies already struggle. You can't, we can't separate that there is a really interesting thing that happens when we project a movie in a space that we all go to together. So many movies that I wanted to go see in person have been ruined by terrible audiences. I completely appreciate that. Post pandemic, we've sort of destroyed the movie going experience in most cases. The casual idea of just rolling up to a movie theater and buying some popcorn and just seeing whatever was showing that week. That's kind of dead now. In fact, I get so much more pleasure out of some of the older theaters around our neighborhood that will do like second screenings or old movies. Like for the holidays, there's like a whole list of old films that are being, I want to go and see It's a Wonderful Life on the big screen, right? I've never seen It's a Wonderful Life on a movie theater screen. I want that experience. I want overpriced greasy popcorn and a soda, and I want to see Every Time a Bell Rings an Angel Gets Its Wings on a massive screen. I want it in that space that I still can't quite replicate in our living room. But it's so frustrating because we still do get some of those victories. I was really hot on the movie Sinners, and Sinners was a movie that kept a dominant place in the box office for weeks based on that organic theater going experience, word of mouth, re-releasing, it made a ton of money in theaters. And you've got to give a movie a little time to breathe. Way back when, like in the 70s and 80s, your opening weekend was not the end of the story. There was an expectation that a movie could come out, you could position it like a sleeper, and its second and third weeks in the box office were actually the more important weeks because the early experiences would kind of build, people would talk about it, then they'd throw more money at marketing, and then week 2 and week 3, we'd see the peak and the payoff. If Netflix takes over HBO and Warner Brothers, they'll do token releases. You'll get a week in the theaters and then they'll pull it and they'll just put it on Netflix because it benefits Netflix. We'll never see that build. A movie that could have actually done better, a movie that could have performed better, will never be given the opportunity if you artificially constrain the theatrical experience so you can enrich the streaming experience. And I get, there are people that are probably never going to go back to movie theaters. Totally understand. I totally get it. I, I I kind of fought that. I got real weird after the pandemic, not wanting to be in enclosed spaces around people that were all coughing. I have terrible misophonia, and someone crunching popcorn can ruin a movie for me. Like immediately, I can't not hear open mouth masticating with, breathing through the same orifice that they're shoveling food and snacks into. The crinkling of all of the candy wrappers. I totally get it. I hate it. But then I saw Sinners on the movie theater screen, and it was so good. It blew me away, and I want that feeling. I'm starting to sound like the end of Scrooged with Bill Murray. I'm here for it. I'm ready for it. I know it can happen to me. I want it to happen to me. So, I went long on that. Breaking this morning, I am genuinely concerned about the state of Warner Brothers. This is a press release on the website strongerhollywood.com. Paramount launches all cash tender offer to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery. So Netflix put in their bid 80 it was eight, I'm going to round up $83 billion. Paramount says we can do an all cash offer for $108.4 billion. So that's interesting. I'm very concerned. Paramount's offer provides Paramount's offer provides WB shareholders with more value and certainty. They are making a big deal out of investors. The investors will be taken care of. With Netflix, it's only $23 per share, but with Paramount, it will be $30 per share. There's less certainty of value, given significant uncertainty of linear network stub equity value, leaving shareholders exposed to a high-leveled and structurally declining asset. But for us, it's an all-cash proposal for the entire company. Very little of this has anything to do with what about making some movies and TV shows? What about sort of enriching the experience? What about making the content that goes to theaters and to television screens? And it makes me very anxious. Because also, where did Paramount get $100 billion to throw at Warner Brothers? I I I don't think they just had it. I actually believe Netflix could be sitting on a stockpile of $80 billion, but they're likely going to finance it. They're going to get some banks involved. They're not going to be completely beholden to the entire $80 billion check. So I have to believe that Paramount's cash is coming from somewhere else too. And I don't know. I just feel it's not great. At the end of all of this, it's just so horrific to me because we've seen all of the stupid dancing at HBO, right? It was HBO, then it was HBO Max, then it was just Max, then it's back to HBO, and now it might be HBO Max again. How do you, and I'm putting it here in the comments and stuff here, how do you have a corporation like Warner Brothers and all of the IP that's under the Warner Brothers umbrella, which includes like the DC universe and you fail so hard at making money while you consistently try to wreck the brand's image, identity, and reputation. And yet, the executives at Warner Brothers still going to get paid. The people who ran that money-making endeavor into the ground, like just tanked that boat and sunk it to the bottom of the Marianas Trench. Those dudes are going to get paid. And now Warner Brothers is potentially on the block. So does it go to Netflix? Does it go to Paramount? Is it possible that some other entity, now that there's a bidding war, the Paramount has thrown in some cash, is there the potential that it could end up being acquired by someone else? I don't know. I genuinely don't think either acquisition is good for anyone. If Warner Brothers goes to Paramount, I don't I don't think that's going to enrich the consumer experience. If Warner Brothers goes to Netflix, I think that's going to be immediately bad for people on Netflix, for people using Netflix and subscribing to Netflix. Yet again, you're going to get another price hike. You're going to get more ads in your content. I just, this is terrible. And you know, sitting off on the sideline, you've got a lone politician like Elizabeth Warren going, "Hey, guys, this is always terrible. These kinds of mergers, they always suck. Hey, yo, dudes, real bad. Probably shouldn't let this happen." And it's going to happen. Whoever can throw the most money around and get the shareholders and investors excited for a short-term payoff, it's gonna happen. I'm so frustrated. Local black man. I support Netflix and the WB merger solely for the return of the Arrowverse. Let me believe tech capitalism will work for the good of the man. Laugh out loud. No, it's not a thing that's gonna happen. Um, Dr. Claw, I am with you on this one. Neither Netflix nor Poopamount make a good suitor. AT&T got out of that business relatively quickly. As again, someone else was mentioning, was it on the Discord? It might have been on a Patreon post. Anyway, just like, man, AT&T has flopped on all of these types of business deals. Like, they failed to buy out T-Mobile. They really struggled with their other media acquisitions. All of it was bad. This is always bad when this kind of thing happens. From Ted, could be worse. Netflix could throw money into the AI bubble and pass on those costs to us. How do you know they're not? I think they're just in a holding pattern until they see if other people will weather the storm for them and try to normalize AI content, and then they can. It's just so stupid. So RP is saying Paramount cash is coming from the Ellison family, and Simon says Hypno says Paramount is Ellison owned now? Question mark. So I don't know. I bet you, even if like they're making the push, I bet you Paramount's offer probably comes with a lot of foreign investment too. I bet you a good chunk of money, not, I mean, all of it or most of it or anything like that, but a good chunk of money to offset their liability and to offset their risk come from opening up the doors to other investors. From John Gow. Well, no for any more corporate consolidation, but big F no for Paramount to buy WB. I feel like we're probably simpatico there. Let me take another drink of coffee here real quick, and we can move on. Get a little tech story in here. Talk about some gadgets, some gizmos, what have you. Oh, Dr. Claw saying the son owns Skydance, who now owns Poopamount. All right. I got to follow the money. I genuinely didn't know who was sort of leading that ship. So this is not news. This is a bit more of a rumor slash editorial, and also coming from an outlet that does a lot of like rumors and rumors and leaks and stuff. But I just thought this was interesting. I would love to see more of this commentary in more uh, uh, tech periodicals and websites. This is coming from WCCF Tech, written up by Omar Sohail. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Smartphone manufacturers are considering bringing back the micro SD card slot to help consumers with their purchase nightmare in wake of increasing DRAM prices. So I feel like there's always a good time to bring back the micro SD card slot. And I hate that it could coincide with the insanely terrible pricing for memory and storage chips across the industry. Last week we talked about skyrocketing RAM prices. Over the last couple of days, we also saw Micron, a crucial memory, leave the market. We're making so much money making RAM for AI data centers. We're just not going to sell RAM to consumers anymore. We're just done. And so now you've got was it Hynix and Samsung? Yeah, I'm sure nothing's going to happen with that market, especially given Samsung's horrific history of price fixing. Like literally every other year, Samsung wants to collude with a competitor to make sure prices stay high on something. I'm exaggerating a little for comedic effect, but I'm not exaggerating that much. So, if something terrible happened in this market, it would be pretty rad if we could get a feature back on our phones that is immensely and insanely useful. There is no consumer benefit to losing card slots on our phones. Every time we take out a piece of hardware, we don't get something for that. We just lose the feature that we had. A bunch of people are going to bring up, like, well, if you take out the card slot on the Pixel 10 Pro XL, you get like 200 more milliamp hours of battery over the Pixel 9 Pro XL. So it went from like 5,000 milliamp hours, and then they took out the card slot. You got more battery, bro. Except for the fact that you could take a tiny little phone like and this is in a case, but it's smaller than it's right up, I guess, against the camera visor of the Pixel 10 Pro XL. This is my Vivo X200 FE. So this is even like one of their crossover devices. It's sort of the line between their cheap phones and their expensive phones. And this has a 20% larger battery than the Pixel 10 Pro XL, and oh, it's in its case so you can't see. It still has a SIM card slot. So there is no consumer benefit to losing a tray, a SIM card, an SD card. It has always been an anti consumer business move to lose those features on our phones. Without this, you've got to deal more directly with carriers. eSIM is still kind of a pain for switching. If you want to just pop your card out of one phone, put it in another phone. Now your carrier might start getting more involved on those kinds of transitions on your behalf. Without an SD card slot, you need to pay more for just media storage. So you either have to buy way more storage at the front, or you just got to stream everything and use cloud for everything. And it's hilarious because even in the comments on this WCCF Tech article, you got a bunch of bootlickers. Well, one time I bought a cheap SD card and it failed on me. Like, well, then don't do that. But you can't convince me that spending like 80 bucks on a really nice, high quality, 1 terabyte card that is fast enough to record 4K video from a mirrorless camera and reliably, because it would be a professional grade card, which I've got a couple of. Like, I actually shoot quite a bit. Here's my Lexar, and I use this in my camera. I actually like using the micro SD version of this in my camera because I can pop this out, put it in a GoPro, or put it directly in my laptop. My laptop only has a micro SD card slot, and I get insanely fast data transfer speeds. Writing 4K video to this card, never had an issue with it buffering or slowing down. Stupid, stupid to try and defend losing this on phones. But one time it didn't work for me. Fine. And that's true of every storage medium ever. From the floppy disk to tape to CDs to zip drives and jazz drives to full-on hard drives and solid state drives. Every storage medium can fail at some point. So well, this is one time it didn't work for me. So, like, no one should be able to do more things with their phone. Cool. I mean, you suck real bad, but cool. I would just love to see more of this kind of speculative conversation in tech blogs. I really would. Let's just start sowing the seeds of discontent, right? All of us in this chat right now can like leave comments on other videos like, yeah, sure would be nice if my Pixel could use more storage. Guess what doesn't work for me out in the middle of the desert? Google Cloud. Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a problem. Sure would be nice if you could just put a ton more storage in your phone. Oh, your phone's slowing down, you're running out. You have to delete your family memories off of your phone. Yeah, sure would be nice if you just put a terabyte in that bad boy. Yep. Sure does suck. Has always sucked. Was never a benefit. Never helped us out. This always could have been better. So I guess still keep being a fan of Samsung copying Apple and Google copying Samsung copying Apple. Good job there, folks. You're real good at the tech. Oh, I want it so bad. From Ramron, 1 terabyte SSD card gang. Because that's another thing too, is it gives us an opportunity to also reconsider the spec and standard. There was that tiny little SSD form factor that a group of companies are trying to normalize. That could be really cool. I'd be down for that. Make it something like you actually have to disassemble the phone, and then you can do a storage upgrade like a traditional PC. Yeah, you're still gonna have all those slob consumers that don't want to have to deal with that. But for us nerds, we'd have an opportunity or the ability to kind of upsell on that. And then we could use that as a future storage standard for things like cameras. I mean, look at all the professional grade cameras that are really trying to figure out how do we do this? We've got a USB-C connector so you can write directly to a solid state drive instead of a memory card. Like the industry is shifting a little in our expectations on how all this stuff should work. And why not? Why not include the phone, the one daily driver companion gadget that we have with us at all times? Just do it. Let's go. From Future, it's here. Dude, the idea that SD cards are coming back in 2026. First of all, they're not going to come back in 2026, but it would be really nice if 2026 hammered us so bad that manufacturers and consumers all went, hey, you know, this is stupid. I'm actually good even going back to like 128 gig of storage built in just for primary apps and services if I could put in a 2 terabyte card for my media. Let's go. I'm there for it. If the SD card on my Steam Deck is good enough for me to run my little indie platformer roguelite games, which it is, I have no issues going back to a memory card and running games off of a memory card. Let's go. Goat V8, I'm hanging on to this Xperia 1 Mark V until I die. Pry that phone from your cold, dead hands. Such a good phone. From Tanmay Panadi? Tanmay Panadi? I think I mispronounced your name. I apologize. Easy to back a memory card instead of having to connect the phone to the computer to back up. And again, I think I could always go 2 or 3 generations of phone where I'd get a new phone and I'd rip the card out, I'd put it in the new phone, and there was all my stuff. It was great. I loved it. It was the best. So handy. Oh, from RP, I would love to see SD card slots coming back. Already got a few 2 terabyte cards. Good on you. So I'm still a little conservative. My biggest cards are 500, 512s. I have a lot of 256s. I just, for some reason, 256 was kind of a sweet spot for me. But I think I'm getting to that point. I really do just need a good, big TB and just kind of switch over to something like that. And this too from Mario Bros. ZX. If you really need speed, there's also Micro Express. So again, this would be an opportunity, especially for a company like Samsung. This is what blows my mind. Samsung makes great cards, and the Nintendo Switch 2 just came out, forcing the next phase of this. A card that has even faster read-write speeds and computational access. Like it's designed to be more like the storage in a computer for input output for operations. And Nintendo is forcing the hands of consumers to go to this more expensive card standard for the Nintendo Switch 2. Why not push that over? And now you've got, if you just want more storage in your phone, you can spend a lot of money for 128 gig of storage. Fine. But then if you want this and you want to upgrade it later, this is the memory card standard we're using on our new Samsung phones, and it's the new Samsung card, and it's compatible with your other devices, and it's going to be super fast for programs. Like, how does that not interest Samsung when right now the main thing keeping Samsung profitable is like their flash storage and RAM business, right? Because they're not making a ton of chips. We're actually going to cover that here in just a second. Samsung Foundry is not getting picked up by a major manufacturer. So why not put all that effort into making sure every single Samsung phone you sell has a companion purchase ready to go, or someone can also tack on a more expensive memory card? How are they this bad at the business? Oh, but then if they put the SD card back in, then you can't have as much battery. Please viciously mock anyone that makes comments like that. You have my blessing to be the most sardonic schmuck you can be. From Ted, are full-size SD card slots being phased out for micro SD cards? I'm surprised to see even cameras doing away with full-size slots in favor of micro SD. I've been noticing it a lot on laptops. So I want to say, like, is it Asus or Dell? I think they're still using full size, but my Surface is micro. I thought it was wild. Like that's crazy to me. Isn't it micro? Is it micro? It's right here. Oh yeah, that is not a full size card slot. So I think it is. I think the writing's on the wall. I think mini SSD, some mini SSD form factor is probably going to take over in a prosumer professional grade space, and then micro SD is going to kind of be the future of where we take this. Now that you can get a terabyte of storage on a micro SD card, it's just so funny because like for my Atomos, these were the, nope, that's not it. These were the SSDs that we used in my Atomos. And I was like, wow, this is insane. This is 512 gig of storage. Look at this SSD. Oh my gosh, it's like ruggedized and everything. And now it's like something the size of my pinky nail is a terabyte. I think it's time to move on. It's so funny. Oh, from Mario, so many people, and this is exactly the company I would love to see it. Oppo in general, but Mario says, OnePlus, put an SD card holder in the 16 and my life will belong to you. Anything Oppo, and especially with the cameras on like Find X, put in a memory card slot. You dorks, just do it. Why not? Anyway, I wanted to transition over to this one because I was just ragging on Samsung. I'm going to take a quick slurp of coffee here. I was just ragging on Samsung because no one wants to use Samsung Foundry. No one wants to use Samsung Foundry so bad. Intel is making some headlines. Coming by way of Mac rumors written up by Joe Rossignol. Sorry, Joe. Apple's return to Intel rumored to extend to the iPhone. So here's what's hilarious. We were just talking about Apple Silicon, and Apple Silicon made a huge dent in the consumer space because Apple walked away from Intel chips in their Mac products, the Mac, the MacBook, the Mac Mini, the iMac. They gutted all of the Intel out of their product line and went with Apple chips, the M series chips. And I still hold this as like maybe the one pillar of potential excitement in Apple products is that they normalized ARM in consumer, prosumer, and professional grade systems. Those M chips are very good. I'm still never going to give Apple money if I can help it, but that helped normalize that we can really do this. An ARM chip can directly compete against the best that Intel and AMD have to offer. So it is hilarious that Apple might be coming back to Intel, but only to use their foundry. So again, this is coming by way of Mac Rumors. Last month, Apple supply chain analyst Ming Chi Kuo, I cannot say Kuo, and I know that it's something I'm not saying it right. Anyway, said he expects Intel to begin shipping Apple's lowest end M series chip for select Mac and iPad models as early as mid 2027. For this, Kuo said Apple plans to utilize Intel's 18A process, which is the quote earliest available sub 2 nanometer advanced node manufactured in North America. That could be huge. So the whole point of this is it's not going to be an Intel chip. It's not going to be a core processor or anything like that. Apple just literally is looking at foundry, at what manufacturing capacity might be out there. And we were joking, TSMC is getting hammered right now. They're doing it all. No one's going with Samsung, no one's going with Intel, but Intel does have a sub 2 nanometer process that could be utilized. So there's no design, there's no like component strategy. It's Apple's chip. They're just gonna give the schematics to Intel, and Intel's gonna stamp them out, and that's it. But that might actually give Intel some customers again. So their foundry isn't just sitting there making core ultra chips that no one wants to buy because AMD is cleaning their clock right now. That to me is insane. So according to this article, and according to the rumors, we're probably looking at lower end Macs and numbered iPhones. So iPhone Pros likely going with TSMC, and the more bleeding edge M series chips and the more robust M series chips probably going TSMC. But that could be a huge shot on the arm for Intel and also give Apple some price negotiation, some leverage if an iPhone 18 comes out. Oh, wait, no, it would be iPhone 17. No, it might. So mid 2027. So it would be like iPhone 19, I think. Anyway, 2 generations from now, a new iPhone comes out, and the numbered iPhone actually performs really well. Apple can turn to TSMC and say, "Hey, you know what? We had great results with Intel's 18A. I think our next iPhone Pro chip will probably be fabbed by them if prices continue to be this high." It's this huge potential to leverage a massive gap in the market, and it's just hilarious. It is so funny that it could be Apple going back to Intel after it was Apple that kind of crushed Intel's core chip business. Yeah, Mario, Apple throwing Intel the lifeboat is super funny. For Mr. Maug, I'm happy for Intel. TSMC is cutting edge, but we don't want monopolies, and that is absolutely true. Again, the increasing prices, the component prices on every new Qualcomm chip, every new MediaTek chip, it's because the one foundry that we can trust their node, their yield is TSMC. That means TSMC can charge anything they want. I love the work that comes out of TSMC. It is incredible to see how far we've progressed over the last couple years. It was the saving grace of Android that we left Samsung and went back to TSMC. And now we really need some competition in there, and Samsung ain't getting it done. Yeah, future it's here. Intel's Foundry has big potential, and also they don't have a ton of competition. There's not a lot of they've got a lot of open resource. Apple could run that foundry, just get everything they want out of them. I don't know. This to me is actually fascinating. It's the business behind our products. There's the potential for this to help prices maybe level off or normalize a bit. I think this is maybe the craziest news story of the week, and it's been really quiet. Now, it's also been really quiet because it's just rumors and internal conversations, and they're considering the potential of examining the business of maybe doing this. Sure, but even just the potential has to be huge for Intel. Apple might be using them. Well, what's going on over at Intel? What's this 18A I've been hearing all about? Like literally just the whisper campaign, right? We go to the Silicon conference. And I heard Apple might be going back to Intel. Well, I got to see what's going on over at Intel. And then their stock bumps like 5 points. Oh, that's sad. Future, it's here. Samsung's 2 nanometer is being used by Tesla. They both are discounting their foundry production drastically. Oh, that's so sad. From Michael C2. Hey Juan, speaking of performance, have any driver updates improved GPU performance on the Pixel? I know it's not getting support for the Red Dead Redemption port. The whole Power VR thing still seems to be a pretty interesting decision by Google. Interesting is really nice. I mentioned that in my performance test. So in the article where I'm comparing the OnePlus 15 against the Vivo X300 Pro, available on patreon.com/somegadgetguy, I do include my benchmarks and tests for the Pixel 10 Pro XL. I don't think anyone's going to be too shocked by most of what I have to say about the Pixel. It is what it is. From JGJ, how hard would it be for Intel to make RISC-V chips? So I don't think foundries are really going to struggle. It's the companies making the chip finding customers for that chip. So RISC-V really, again, I'm grossly oversimplifying, and you absolutely need to be following dudes like Dr. Ian Cutress over at Tech Tech Potato. I'm doing a poor job of summarizing some of the things I've heard him say when it comes to the more advanced silicon and where the business of that kind of market goes. The problem with RISC, I think if a company wanted to put a ton of money into a bespoke chip, we could cut that chip. I mean, we could stamp that out. We could make it. I don't think the foundries have any issues coming up with, I mean, not coming up with, delivering. The problem is putting the money and the resources and the infrastructure into a product, then who buys that product? So from a consumer facing side of this business, RISC-V hasn't matured to the point where we could swap it out on our phones, right? No one has put the resources into making an advanced RISC-V chip to compete against what ARM is currently delivering. So really it's just the game of fortitude. Who has the money and who's pissed off enough at ARM to walk away from ARM and say, you know what, I'm going all in on RISC. We're going to dump billions into manufacturing. We're going to make a competitive chip. Then they can send that design over to TSMC and TSMC will stamp it out all day. So really for me, it's the business side of this that's slowing RISC down. I think we're going to see, or we've already seen, some really interesting business insertions into less consumer-facing markets. If it's warehouse, if it's organization, if it's strategy, if it's sort of IoT style devices, like there's a lot of interest there. The idea of making a RISC chip that can go toe to toe with a Dimensity 9500, there's no customer market for it. So it's really hard to make it first and then get people to use it. It's like you kind of need to pay for it while you're doing it. So you see this little sort of stair step or TikTok, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. We found customers here, we can iterate there. We found customers there, we can iterate here. And that's slower, but it's iterative and we do see the improvements. It's just, can you get someone to buy it? And that seems to be the big that seems to be the big problem. Oh yeah, and that's right. There were some other sales. Like Intel bounced off of a lot of ARM and RISC style development. This is another just quick story before we. Oh, I've got two more. Okay, I'm going to do these back to back, and then I want to wrap up this week's show because I've got something over here on my desk that I can finally show you. One, we've got to celebrate this every time news comes out that's bad for this type of device. This is coming by way of GSM Arena, written up by Mikhail. A report says iPhone Air is losing its resale value at a record pace. I am so happy to see it. The 256 gig base model iPhone Air, which has an MSRP of $999, is now 40.3% cheaper on the used market. The 512 gig trim lost 45% of its initial value, while the 1 terabyte model, which retails for $1,400, will only get you $668 right now, a 47.7% difference. Thin phones are stupid. Do not buy them. Try to talk to your family and friends. Make sure they also will not buy them. I keep hammering this home, and I know there are folks who disagree with me that they want a phone that's the same size but is thinner and lighter. I don't think those consumers really exist. I think if a consumer wants a smaller phone, they want a smaller screen. They don't want the same canvas, the same surface area, which is hard to hold, and then making it thinner, making it even harder to hold. I don't think there's a market for that, especially when you get rid of a phone that would have been the most practical battery life performer and you replace it with literally half the phone at the same price. What would have been the iPhone 17 Plus would have had twice the battery capacity, two cameras, two speakers, would have been a better device. So every single time I hear people aren't buying the iPhone Air, and the people who did buy the iPhone Air are taking a bath on the iPhone Air, could not make me happier. Apple needs to lose in these markets and show people this was a terrible strategy. Bring back the iPhone Plus. Right now, I'm worried because I'm sure people who would have bought the iPhone Plus are finding ways to go up to the iPhone Pro Max. That seems to be Apple's squeeze strategy. Either you convince people to buy half the phone at the same price, and that's a win for Apple, or people don't buy the iPhone Air, and then they move up to an iPhone Pro and they spend even more. It's always a win-win for Apple, but at least in this specific situation, we can influence other manufacturers against trying to copy Apple on thinness. Thinness is never a feature. It is always a lack of other features. And here, we're actually seeing evidence in this market that Apple consumers are voting with their wallets. And the market is saying, no, this is half the phone. I'll give you half the money. That an iPhone 17 Air should be 45% cheaper than it is MSRP because it's 50% of a phone. Just hammer it, hammer it, hammer it. Make this as unfashionable as we possibly can. This is the worst, most cynical application of the terrible business practices instituted by Tim Cook. A man who has kind of shown his true colors in more ways than one, is a bully, is a politician, is not a design guy, is not a hardware guy, is not a big idea guy, but he's a business politician guy. That's the kind of ratcheting that we see from a dude like Tim Cook. Let's maliciously comply with regulators, and let's squeeze our developers, and let's hurt our customers, and we'll make more money. That's Tim Cook. And it's time for us to acknowledge he's not the smiley, happy grandpa guy who does, sort of grandpa dances on stage at keynotes. He's a ruthless, cutthroat industrialist. And everything at Apple has gotten more profitable for the rich and worse for the consumers under his watch. So let him eat the Vision Pro and the iPhone Air as he hopefully exits his way out of this market over the next year. Let him own those, because that's him. That's what he brought. So, the other story that I wanted to bring up, and this is a quick one. We don't have to spend a lot of time on this one either. This is a big upgrade. And again, I love it when a software update can bring some enhanced functionality. Those of you on Oppo devices, this is pretty cool. Written up by Habib over at Notebook Check. All scenario bypass charging coming to select OnePlus and Oppo devices. So starting with the Find X9 and the OnePlus 15, let's see. For Oppos, we go the Find X to the Find X7. So the Find X9, X8, and X7. The Oppo Find N5, the Reno 14, the Reno 13, the Pad 5, and the Pad 4 Pro are all getting bypass charging. Then for OnePlus devices, we've got the 15, the 13. Unfortunately, the 13T, no mention of the 13R, but the OnePlus 12, and then the Ace 6, Ace 5, Ace 3, and the OnePlus Pad 2 and the OnePlus Pad 2 Pro. So again, mostly all on Color OS, but going back about 3 generations of product, this is a really big deal. The OnePlus 12 and the OnePlus, actually, let me start. The OnePlus 12 probably still has some of the best overall performance per watt. So it might not be as critical, but it's also now 2 generations old. So we're starting to see those phones, if you're still using them, they're starting to face probably a little battery degradation. OnePlus 13 has that Snapdragon 8 Elite, 8 Elite Gen 4. Um, Very high performance chip, but it can get real thirsty in bursts of use. And then the OnePlus 15, I've had great experiences with it. I've played a bunch of really cool games on it, and techies love showing off, oh, I used a benchmark and it overheated that one time. Fine. Bypass charging is insanely practical. And now this is going to be enabled across the whole device, more like Sony. Sony did this back in what, the Xperia 1 Mark II, Xperia 1 Mark III, somewhere in that. You plug the phone in, and instead of charging the battery as aggressively as it can, it gives it just this little trickle nudge to try and keep the battery at the same state, and the power is just going to running the phone. Now, all of our Oppo devices, all of our Vivo devices now, especially on Origin OS, not on FunTouch, but on Origin, and I believe Xiaomi does it too. All of these devices have some form of bypass charging, but usually it's attached to gaming. So we know you're going to play this game. You plug your phone in, the power of the charger goes to running the phone and keeping the battery kind of in a stasis, right? Kind of in a, usually it trickle charges, but you try to keep it just hovering around where you plugged it in. You plug in at 70%, you game for an hour, you unplug, your phone should still be roughly around 70%. That reduces heat internally so your phone can run more efficiently, and it prevents the battery from charge cycling while it's being used aggressively, which should hopefully limit wear and tear on the battery. Now, Oppo is just going to open it up for the entire device. So you don't have to do it app by app or game by game. Let's say you just want to doom scroll, right? You're just going to TikTok all night. Well, as long as the phone screen is on, you plug in, the battery isn't charging, isn't rapid charging, isn't trickle charging. You can just scroll, and if you're at 80% while you're scrolling your TikToks, you finish and you're still at 80%. With phone chips getting increasingly more powerful and increasingly more power hungry. These chips are really thirsty. This is a huge feature to add 2 generations back and making it easier just to do that across the entire device. I'm plugging in, I still need to use my phone. I just want to kind of scroll for a little bit and then I can turn the screen off, let it charge, but that charge bypass should hopefully keep our batteries running a little bit longer, keep them healthier a little bit longer. I I've just been really impressed because like I use every phone in my collection really hard for about a year, right? So my OnePlus 12, I just fired that back up, and I want to say I'm at around 200 charges on my OnePlus 12. It's now 2 years old, and it's at 98% battery health because I've almost exclusively used VOOC chargers. Now, if I could get even more runtime and longevity out of that battery by doing bypass charging, not charging the battery when I don't really need to, I think that's a huge step. So this was a big news story that, again, I don't think got a lot of attention because it's OnePlus. When Samsung does it, it'll be so good. But there is some form of bypass charging on the Pixel. I think that kicks in when you do a battery limiting. So, like, say you limit a Pixel to 80% battery, then it'll bypass charge once it hits 80%. There is bypass charging on Samsung. I think that's still app specific. Someone please correct me if that's wrong in a new version of One UI. Bringing it just to the entire device. Sony had it right from the beginning. Just do that. I plug in, I've got a little pop-up, I say bypass charging. Done. I'm done. I don't have to, well, is this app okay? Or did this game get recognized by my game mode? Oh, this one didn't. But I can add another app to my game mode, even though it's not a game, and then it'll bypass. No, don't futz with all that. Give me the button that just says turn off the charging, and we're good. And so, lastly, just for news stories here, I have to bring this up because I also have to pat myself on the back. I'm sort of tearing my shoulder. I'm getting some like rotator cuff injuries from patting myself on the back so hard. Written up by Jyoti Man over at Business Insider. Meta delays release of new mixed reality glasses codenamed Phoenix in order to, quote, get the details right. Meta delays the release of its Phoenix mixed reality glasses to 2027. An internal memo cited the need for breathing room as the company wants a fully polished device. It is also developing a next-gen Quest headset and a wearable device codenamed Malibu 2. So I really try not to do any business with Meta if I can help it. I don't use Meta Ray-Bans. I don't use Meta glasses. I don't use Oculus. I I logged into my Facebook account actively for the first time in years because my Facebook password was listed in a password breach. My password manager said, by the way, this password you use is no longer safe. So I changed my password in Facebook and I saw messages from people from like 4 years ago. I had no idea that I had gotten. And I felt bad, but I didn't feel too bad. I had to bring this one up because this isn't even their big stage presentation of Orion. Y'all remember the Orion glasses? They look like real thick, like Millhouse glasses, but they went out on stage and look at all this amazing augmented reality and all of this amazing AI and AR, and it's just all in this one product. And they went out on stage, and a bunch of techies just all over them. Oh my gosh, this is like the future, and oh, this is so incredible and so cool. And I did a video a year ago talking about how that's not a real thing. You could, if you could buy Orion, it would have been a $10,000 product. So I have this video, and it's only got like 4,000 views because, again, no one likes it when I'm sort of spoon feeding them the bad news. Meta Orion AR glasses, Apple media coverage ruins everything. And it's me ranting about how dumb the media gets about Vision Pro and Orion. And remember a couple years back, I had techies calling me out like, oh, you're criticizing Apple's spatial computing and Vision Pro. It's not a mixed VR headset, it's a real new thing. And then Vision Pro flopped. Because if you weren't a techie beholden to Apple to make money on your stupid tech influencer videos, you would be able to say, no, that's stupid. No one's going to buy that. It's a dev kit at best. It should never have been put out there as a consumer facing product. And Meta goes out on stage over a year ago. Oh, look, we've invented AR in glasses that people might actually want to wear. So I'm kind of preaching to the choir. Most of the comments on this video agree with me. I don't think if you're a rational techie who doesn't depend on massive corporations' popularity to make your money on your tech videos, you're sort of free to say Emperor ain't got no clothes on. Meta, that emperor had no clothes on. You can go out on stage and demo something. But in all of the comments, most of them agreeing with me, there was this one like, no, one, it really does exist. Orion is a real thing. People held it and people used it. And you're like, okay, you're being really pedantic with the definition of existing. I can go to a car show and see a hyper exotic concept car that no one will ever be able to drive. But I can sit in it and I can touch things on the dashboard and I can use all the connected car stuff and talk to the car's AI. It doesn't mean it exists. It is not a consumer facing product. It is not a real product. And in that, I started mentioning, well, if you wanted to use this in its current state, you get about 2 hours of battery life. Are you going to wear glasses all day with about 2 hours of battery life? What about people who really need to wear glasses? I don't need to wear glasses, and I still would not wear AR glasses that only last for about 2 hours on a charge because I'm not an idiot. So I go out of my way. Orion is not a real thing. Orion was a stage demonstration. Orion wasn't even as real as HoloLens because the HoloLens experience that I put on my face 8 years ago was available to be purchased as a dev kit, a $3,500 dev kit, but it existed in exactly the way that it was presented on stage. Meta was trying to convince us that they had AR glasses that were ready to go. They just need another year. The comments are like, "Oh, well, they just got to get the manufacturing down. It's just too expensive to make right now." Then it doesn't exist. Being way too early and charging way too much is the Vision Pro problem, right? So you're a failure if you're too early, you're a failure if you're too late. You've got to time it just right. And guess what? Meta is coming out with a pair of augmented reality glasses, not called Orion, because the Orion glasses weren't real things for people to buy. So I got to just pat myself on the back there and get real angry and pissy yet again because we're playing that same stupid game. The second Google Glass came out, the tech industry was tripping over themselves to say Google got it all wrong. Here's how Apple's going to do it better. And where are the Apple glasses? You have played with nothing for 14 years while techies pat themselves on the back with another rumor video. This year, we're really getting Apple glasses. Oh, they're still in development. We know they're going to do Apple glasses. And you missed Google Glass. You missed Vuzix. You missed Focals by North. There's Evan Realities. They're pretty good. I like the new Vuzix sunglasses. They're pretty decent. I've got Holidays over on my desk back there. And now you're going for the same ride with Meta, a company that exists solely to hurt you to make money. They want all of your user data and all of your behavior data, and they're funneling that into some of the most horrific, toxic, algorithmically sorted AI generation experiments on your brain, separating you from family and friends, making everything politically divisive, leaking your data like a rusty sieve all over the internet for anyone that'll pay for the meagerest of access to their protocols and their algorithms. And we keep acting like, oh, but it's kind of cool. It's like Ray-Ban, and I can talk to like an AI in my Ray-Bans. There's just nothing I can do. I got to stay on Facebook. I got to keep using Facebook. I got to keep using Twitter. You're like, but they're actively trying to hurt you for profit. And I'm supposed to get excited about a presentation where they share some really ugly looking glasses that would not be comfortable to wear on my face, that would not be practical, and couldn't exist for under $10,000. And I'm supposed to be cool in my comments and like, oh no, they really exist, guys. Someone really held them one time and they said that they held them and they said that they put them on their face and they used them. So they're real. So if you were really excited about Meta AR Orion glasses, guess what? You're still not getting them. And the replacement or iteration that they were going to come out with, Phoenix, also doesn't exist yet. Maybe in 2027 you'll get to play with the Phoenix glasses, and that'll be fun, I guess. Don't buy them. Stop. Stop. Stop playing ball with companies that actively try to make everything worse for you. Just take a break. Take a week off and see if you like. Just fire up an RSS feed reader and populate it with some of your favorite blogs and YouTube channels, and then don't go to Instagram for a week and see if you dig it. Because I think you will. Instead of this. Literally, the title of my video is stupid. Apple media coverage ruins everything. But my thumbnail I thought was pretty good. Is this all we get? Is this all we can hope for? Is massive mega corporations ratcheting every daily interaction we have for their own corporate profits, contributing very little back to the communities that they're raking, and now I've got nerds defending them in my comments. They're real. They're for reals. They're going to be a real thing. They are. So stupid. Uncle Gamer. Okay, I'll go with the on this one. I only have a Facebook for Marketplace. My profile has nothing. If you're getting some good deals on my Marketplace, more power to you. I just really can't stand anything Facebook related. From Michael C, what do you think about this AI recorder app trend and earbuds coming with built-in transcription? I'm very concerned about the hardware side of this because one, it's going to be a huge new generation of e-waste. You know, people who are so concerned, oh, you got to get rid of SIM cards because the SIM card plastic, that's a lot of waste. All right. So then you're going to get a credit card recorder with a battery and radios built into it, and that's fine. Okay, that is a privacy nightmare because you just stick it on the back of your phone and you can record every single conversation without any notification to the user that you're recording the call. Awesome. That's what we're doing with cloud data center AI. It's great. I really don't like it, and I hate that it's probably going to be one of those things people point to. I love it. I can call my grandma and I can get a recording of her voice, and it's just so good. And I like having this, and I don't mind giving up all my private data so that corporations can rake me for products and goods and services, and my grandma and I can talk. Cool. I'm not a big fan. From Team Vry, someone who deleted his Facebook account. I wish I didn't have to make a backup account just to keep in touch with family and friends who refuse to leave Meta. Sigh. I have a lot of family members in that same boat too. I reach out, I text, I email, I make the effort, and if they don't want to contribute, they're kind of telling me what the nature of our relationship is, and it hurts. I hate it. There are a couple cousins like, man, I wish we were closer, but you refuse to text, you refuse to WhatsApp or Signal or Telegram or email. And if I were to post something on Facebook, you'd be on my throat. Like if I posted something political, you'd be ready for the fight. And I guess I'll see you once a year when I'm in rural New Mexico. We can catch up over some carne adobada, and it's delicious. And then beyond that, I guess we just have nothing to do with each other. And if that's how they're going to define our relationship, I then I guess that's what we are. And it'll make me real sad. I get real sad. But that's also what Meta has kind of done to us. I'm putting that one on Meta's feet in the same way that I lost my grandfather to Fox News. I lost some of my cousins and other family members to Facebook. They get to own that. It's on them. I'm going to take a quick drink of coffee. Who wants to see a new tablet? Is that something you guys would be interested in? Is something kind of fun? I'm just saying. Oh, Ramron. I love this. This girl I started dating is a privacy freak. Love having some. I think you mean someone to use Signal and discuss Linux with. She sounds awesome. If you can get her in this chat just to kind of chat about, privacy, security, Linux, I'm all for it. Also, let her know what my Mastodon is, and we can follow each other on Mastodon and have fun conversations about the really nerdy stuff where Threads and Blue Sky won't go. It's just such a wasteland. I was on Blue Sky and I looked up Android, and it was as likely that I would get like Dragon Ball memes and some really questionable adult content Dragon Ball memes about androids as it would be actual tech news about Android. I kept pointing this out that, like, if a group of techies were to work together, we could triple or quadruple the penetration of a hashtag like hashtag Android, and we would be able to signal boost each other's content. But every time I do that, I get a lot of people that share on a hashtag and expect me to boost their stuff, but then never contribute to sharing other people's stuff, which is how you actually spread the idea on social media. It makes your account more valuable to social media to see lots of really cool things being shared from your account, and other people would be sharing your stuff too. So I've reached out to numerous tech creators with smaller and medium-sized channels saying, let's work together and we can all benefit from this, and no one wants to go for it. Well, excuse me, everyone wants their stuff to be shared. No one wants to contribute and participate in other people's sharing. And they think it's, well, if I share other people's content, then they'll get views. And you're like, no, especially like on Threads, if you share other people's content, it makes you more valuable to the Facebook algorithm. It actually makes your channel more valuable than if you only just share your own stuff. And then if you generate engagement, or if conversation, that's even better. So wouldn't you want to have the widest spread of potential conversation generating content? And then they'll look at me like, but I just want my stuff to get views, and I'm out. I can't use my social media accounts to promote your stuff and then only have that go one way. So I have this thing over here. I just have to make sure. I'm going to look up one thing here real quick because I just want to make sure I don't do something stupid. I've double checked this. I'm going to triple check it. I'm pretty sure I can. Let's see. Oh man, my internet just got real slow. December 8th. Today is December 8th, 9 a.m. Eastern time, and it's 11 a.m. Pacific time. And I can hold this thing up because this right here is just a fancy little tablet. Look at this tablet. And look, see, there's this little logo here at the top. Let me see if I can catch the light. It's a OnePlus type thing. That's pretty cool. I don't know. People like the OnePlus tablets because I also have the Pro, not the Pro. I have the OnePlus Pad 3 right here. It stays in front of me a lot. I love this tablet. But this one is a different one. This is a what is it? It's a OnePlus Pad Go 2. And OnePlus sent it with the cute little folio case. And I really like this folio case. And in the folio case, there's this like hard plastic clip where you can attach this pen type device. I don't know if you noticed this, but like when you use your finger as the only interaction for touchscreens, it's actually not the best way to engage in a number of interactions on computing devices, no matter what Steve Jobs said about devices that have like dedicated hardware or a stylus or some other type of interaction. Keyboards and pens are actually quite useful for a lot of people out there. So I can't show a whole lot, and I can't yet talk about things like performance. I'm just gonna get this. Oops, I can't show that either. But I can just show, it's a nice little tablet here. It's a Go Pad 2, and they're really pretty home screens and wallpapers. It's a nice thin frame. Let me see if I can pop it out of this case. The only thing I'm a little concerned about is all of the hard clear plastic on the case. So that could be a little bit of a concern for durability if you're someone who takes their tablets out of cases frequently. But you can kind of see nice slate gray. There are no pogo pins or anything on the back or on the bottom. Nice speakers on either side, a USB-C port right here. There's a camera on the back. I don't do camera reviews or talk about cameras at all. for my tablet videos because I just feel like they're only useful for video calling. You shouldn't be using tablet cameras for creating content. That's where I'll draw my snob line in the sand. But nice, thin frame, really, really pretty. Lines that definitely remind me of other devices like iPads, but really, really clean manufacturing, really clean look for what ostensibly is not going to be one of their more expensive products in this market. So, had a charger in the box. The stylus and the case are separate. Um, yeah, I'm just really digging it. I'm kind of poking around. I think this might end up being like a little solution for Marie because it would be fun for reading, just for media, entertainment, stuff like that. She like walks around the house and will have her earbuds connected to a phone. Like especially in the morning, she'll watch the morning news from her phone. And just like it'd be kind of nice. Maybe you just prop this up on your desk and you could still have your earbuds connected to this and go like dual point so they can connect to your phone or to this tablet. And I think this would be like a perfect solution for something like that. So OnePlus Pad Go 2 coming soon to a conversation near you. Um, sorry, I just saw this comment from Ramron. Stop stealing my girl. Ah ha 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 ha. All I'm saying is if she's a Linux nerd who wants to talk about privacy and security, I'm down for that conversation. I I'm not going to interject or intercede in any other way. From Billy Quizboy, I haven't heard you rage about Amazon yet. I didn't know if there was any Amazon news, but we ragged on Amazon really hard on the Discord over the weekend. In fact, someone else on the Discord just mentioned that they were canceling their Amazon Prime, and it kicked off an entire conversation of all of us just like Amazon is stupid. I've had terrible experiences with them lately. I miss Prime, not at all. Out of all of the streaming and subscription services I've canceled, Amazon has stung the least in that it has stung not at all. I do not miss it. Goodbye, Amazon. I'm so much happier doing shopping on individual retailer sites. I've spent so much more money on B&H and Adorama and Sammy's cameras. Like the gadgets and the tech and the consumer electronics, I'm going there. And I've been having a blast. So I don't know if there's something specific I'm supposed to be ragging on, but I'm always down to say bye-bye, Amazon, I will not miss you. Oh man, Aditya saying the OnePlus Pad Pro 3. I don't know what the strategy is going to be like for OnePlus in the United States. The OnePlus the OnePlus Pad 2. Yes, the OnePlus Pad 2, awesome tablet. It's in my bedroom right now. OnePlus Pad 3, amazing tablet. It is really nice. And again, now just getting to play with the OnePlus Pad Go 2, um, I really like their tablet hardware. I'm hoping they can find what I again, you know what I really like is a good TikTok strategy. There's so little happening in Android and in Chrome OS right now that I feel is so precious for yearly releases. I am always going to be the guy who says, give me more compute power, give me better power efficiency. But the OnePlus Pad 3 could easily go every other year. So you go, technically in 2025, that tablet was the OnePlus Pad 3. And ride that out and then refresh it in 2027. And then kick off a OnePlus Pad Go in 2026 and then refresh that in 2028. Every other year, just tick tock. Premium, more accessible. Premium, more accessible. To me, it's a little like the old school laptop market. For the kinds of things that we use tablets for, I feel there's so little momentum or urgency or energy. I need to have the latest and greatest chipset. I need to have the fastest SoC. I need this. I need this. I need this. When really all the companion stuff is much more important. Do I have a good case for it? Do I have a good stylus for it? Do a good battery charger? All that stuff. And this becomes one of those things like I kind of feel tablets just kind of kick around for 4 or 5 years until they refuse to power on, and then someone goes and buys another tablet. And I think if you were to just stay in this market, like it really annoyed me going from the OnePlus Pad 2 to the Pad 3. The form factor changes, the screen size changes, the accessory changes, everything changed. And I think you could have gotten a lot more mileage out of the OnePlus Pad 2 form factor. So I'd love to see kind of a little more staggering. I don't think these companies need to spend as much on tooling up and R&D and manufacturing and distribution. You got it approved, ride it out for 2 years, and then flip it. And I think that would be better for everybody. Oh, for Michael C2, me too. I'm pretty sad that Samsung deprecated classic DeX on tablets with One UI 8. I do not like the new tablet version of DeX. I'm with you there too. I'm really hoping that some of the updates that we've seen, like for example, if you plug in a Pixel, it now asks, do you want to mirror the screen or go into desktop mode? I'm hoping more Android manufacturers will pick up on that. It is so stupid that my OnePlus, my Vivo, my Xiaomi, they don't have functional desktop modes. Just do what Google's doing. Add the tiniest little bit of polish to the UI. You have these insane animation engines and creator tools and wallpapers and customization features. Like plug that into another screen and give me some of that stuff there. And it would be so helpful. And then we wouldn't have to worry so much about DeX. But all of this is coming because at some point, Android is going to be the backbone of Chrome OS. And I'm hoping that means on tablets, there's almost no difference. If I hold up my OnePlus Pad 3 and it gets an update in 2 years to a new build of Android that is the same as Chrome OS, that would be awesome. There's no reason why this could not be someone's laptop. In the same way that someone could switch from Windows or Mac to Chrome, this hardware is better than most Chromebooks out there. It would be the Surface Pro of Chromebooks. Same thing with like a Samsung tablet too. These are the nicest tablets in that space. The new Xiaomi pads could be Surface Pro grade devices. Just turn it on. Give us the Chrome OS interface on a tablet and we're good. I'd be so happy with that. Yeah, DTNL casually looks up the embargo date. I made that really explicit. I was like December 8th, that is today. I am so anxious. Like my brain is Swiss cheese right now. If my calendar weren't peppered with PR emails and messages, I probably would have broken embargo a dozen times over the last month. Um, a DTNL. Yee! I like that case. I mean, it is kind of an interesting case. Let me hold up the case just on its own. Because, like, it's a hard shell plastic. And that makes me a little concerned about, like, drop and bump and shock compatibility. But it's got that cute little, like, folio thing where you can prop it up. Yeah, there we go. You can kind of prop it up or put it vertical, stuff like that. I do like that there's an explicit holder for the stylus. The magnetic stuff always seems to fall off in my laptop bag. So if I just throw a tablet in my backpack, I'm almost positive the stylus is just going to be loose somewhere in that backpack after a couple minutes. Oh, Ron, exactly. I still have my original OnePlus Pad still going strong. That was the Dimensity 9000. That tablet was a monster. It was so good. A DTN Note 1, can you talk to us ad nauseum about the hinge? Well, you see what it feels like in the hand, because that's the most important part is what does it feel like in your hand? From Uncle Gamer. In What We Do in the Shadows, vampires could only use the pens for tablets. I feel like Steve Jobs totally missed that crucial mythical antagonist market. What would a vampire do with our tablet? I'm I'm trying to catch back up onto some of these things here. You guys went way ahead and some really funny comments in here, but I think we really do have to start wrapping the show up. Oh, from RP, I hate when I buy from the manufacturer and they still send the order via Amazon. I see, for me, at that point, I've given them data. I told the manufacturer, I want to do business with you. And if your order fulfillment comes through Amazon, that's on you. But I tried to give you money directly. So again, it's like that doesn't really change my behavior, but I'm totally with you. It's so annoying. Like I went out of my way to try and not have Amazon stepping on your business and you still chose to do it that way. That's fine. But it's not gonna impact how I'm shopping these days and how I'm doing almost none on Amazon. Even Costco. We just ordered a whole bunch of stuff from Costco. Christmas this year coming mostly from B&H and Costco. Not Amazon at all. It feels real good. I like the feeling a lot. From a DTNL, I have a low mid-range Lenovo tablet with some killer speakers. I love it. It gets the job done. Got it for like 210 pound sterling. It's not the fastest, but it's a media consumption beast. I love it. And again, it is so nice when you shop purpose. I want a slate and I want it to do this. That's what I'm going to put my money towards. If I just need a movie playing machine, I don't need a OnePlus Pad 3 with a Snapdragon 8 Elite, or is it an 8 Gen 3? I can't remember. I don't need that screaming fast processor. I want something that I can watch movies on. My daughter's tablet is that 8849, the Unihertz tank tablet. She loves that thing. It's got a, what is it? Dimensity 8200. And you know what? It's actually pretty decent. She's gotten super into Stardew Valley. I love seeing it. It's like calmness in a game, and she's so excited. She's got like this beautiful house. She's also got like a summer cottage, but her main house, again, telling her the draw of Stardew Valley is being able to pretend like you can own property. It's absolutely why it's so popular. But her fridge is stocked and she just upgraded her axe and she's cutting out the tree stumps around her property and going to the market, and she's just calm and chill in the music, and she loves using her nice headphones so that she can really kind of like vibe with the game. It is such a lovely atmosphere as opposed to like having to deal with creepers and Roblox, right? So that tablet is not a powerhouse. It's decently powerful. That's upper mid-range, right? It's almost premium tier, but like for her, it's the battery life and the screen gets really bright. And it can play Stardew Valley. You know, like the level of compute power we need for that is very low. It's very easy to shop with purpose to say, I want this kind of feature with this kind of performance to do these kinds of tasks. And then that should give you pretty good results for like 5 years. And I love that, like in the tablet space, like that really kind of comes to a head because like, what do you use the tablet for? And I think a lot of people buy tablets looking for all the things the tablet might fix for them, where we need a few more consumers just to say, hey, you know what? I just want a better screen for movies. I'm cooking in the kitchen, I've got some nice headphones on, and I just want a bigger screen for movies. Mid-range tablet, all day, every day. Does you great. And you'll get a little longevity out of that. Spending just a little bit more for some nicer components and a nicer screen. Go nuts. So anyway, I think it's nice. Oh, from Midnight State. I love a good tablet. Anyone putting any decent effort into one will catch my eye. My Galaxy S9 FE Plus is really bulky, but Dex is really nice to have. Good performance for what I do. Just wish it had display output. And that's another one too. If you do buy nicer but older, Galaxy Tab S9 still a pretty good buy. Like there's so much I can do with my old Moto Edge from 2021, or literally my Galaxy S10e from 2019 is still a more functional computer than a lot of newer phones that are more powerful. And that's another one that I love is like, yeah, the OnePlus Pad 3 came out for a window. You could have gotten a really good deal on a OnePlus Pad 2. And that would have been a great buy for a tablet with a lot of life, a lot of potential still left in it. That like just 1 year old or 2 year old market. So good. So good. Oh, hey, nice, Team Vry. I have, which one do I have? I have last year's Xiaomi Pad Plus. It was the one that had the Snapdragon 8S Gen 3. I can't remember which one it is. Team Fry says, using the Xiaomi Pad 7 and so far loving its design, the bloatware also seems a bit more tame versus HyperOS on Xiaomi phones. So the thing I like about Xiaomi strategy is they really want you to use the phone with it. So actually, there's, like you're saying, there's a bit less cooked into the tablet because they want you to pair your phone and then use that as like a conduit. So everything's shared between tablet and phone, and the tablet can piggyback off of the phone's data connection. So you're spot on. It's one of the things I loved about that Xiaomi Pad is that it's a brutally powerful, smaller slate computer, had a great keyboard case, had a good stylus, and it was actually a little cleaner than some of these other tablet experiences for exactly what you're saying there. Oh, Billy Quizboy, I'm still rocking my Note 10 Plus, which is a problem due to lack of updates, but it's still a great device. You got to be a little more careful with it. You got to keep up, see, check from time to time if you're getting those Google Play Services updates. Make sure your apps are up to date. Don't go clicking on weird links. But it's still a baller device. It's older hardware. I could go back to an LG G8 and be good. In fact, still be better in a lot of ways because I'd have a headphone jack with a killer amp and I'd have a memory card slot again. Oh no, I don't get 5Gs. It's still a killer phone. The phone's still rocking. Keep it out of the landfill as long as you feasibly can. It's great. All right, so folks, more news to come on the OnePlus Pad Go 2. I keep wanting to say OnePlus Go Pad 2, and it's not a GoBot, it's a Pad Go. I could really go for some Pad Thai. Sorry, my brain just went out there crazy. Hey, folks, I was really looking forward to this lineup. I was putting the news block together and I just felt like this week was going to be a really fun week. And I don't know about y'all. I had a really good time. This was probably one of the best shows I've done in a couple weeks. And I'm just really happy. Excuse the coffee burps. I'm really happy that y'all were along for the ride. So there will be more news soon on this tablet right here that I'm allowed to show you. Let me just unlock it one more time. I hate face unlock. And just it's a nice pretty screen. Look at that screen. It's beautiful. And soon I'll be able to tell you more about what it was like to use this tablet. So stay tuned for that. I have some glasses videos coming out, some heads up display glasses and some cinema display glasses that I'm super excited about there. I'm wrapping up that video on the really crazy fancy gimbal. If you see my One More Pixie microphone review, you might notice I'm outside and I'm moving around and the camera is tracking me while I'm moving around. So that came from a gimbal and I'm super excited about that. I've got some other performance topics that we're going to be covering for Vivo and for OnePlus. The OnePlus 15 has been an absolute champ. And I've got actually, I can't say anything about that, but it's good for your ears. That's the tease. It's a horrible tease. So there's going to be a lot as I'm trying to wrap up December and still catch up with some of the videos and products that have been in the pipeline for a little while. It's going to be a mix of slightly older from like 2 months ago and brand spanking new tip of the spear, edge of the spear, tip of the spear, bleeding edge stuff too. So thank you so much for tuning in. I greatly appreciate all the people that are out there sharing content. Like I said, we could blow this stuff up. There is so little interaction on social media for these kinds of tech topics that doesn't expand out from a little pocket community of like tech threads or tech blue sky. And if folks got a little bit more active or a little bit more engaged, we be able to control that market. Right now, it's all Apple. A major influencer with like a 10 million subscribers on YouTube will burp something about Apple, and then everyone has to go and spread it all over social media. But if we worked concertedly to share good content from the creators we like, we could make a huge impact on all of that. So the sharing is absolutely critical. Active engagement. That's the thing. We're just sort of passively consuming whatever just pops up in our feed. Our feeds are never going to change for the better. So, thank you everybody who jumps into these kinds of conversations and joins these chats and shares their favorite content on social media, gets their favorite creators involved, and gets them more visibility. I can't tell you, every single time you see it, I might not be able to reply to everybody, but it warms my heart every time I stumble in and see, oh, someone liked my thing or someone shared my thing. I guess I could make more. I might do that. So, folks, I want you all to have an amazing week. I want you to do awesome with your technology. I want you to be awesome with your technology. And yeah, I just want you to keep taking care of yourselves. The holiday season can be rough under the best of times. Even when everything's going great around you, the holidays can still kick our butts. So keep your heads on straight. Find those breaks, find those opportunities, really take care of your mental health. Go seek help if you need it. That is crucial and critical, and no one should ever feel like it's a defeat or it's a loss or it's embarrassing. We all need a tune up from time to time. We all need an assist. We all need some help. And especially when times aren't going so great, it's even more precious that we get out there and we take care of ourselves. So that's the only way you'll be able to keep taking care of others around you. We are not infinite. We are fatigable. But the people around you also need their help. And you're the ones to do it. You're the good geeks. You're the good nerds. You're the good tech neighbors. So, folks, I'll catch you back next week for another episode of the Monday Morning Tech Chat Show on the SGGQA podcast channel. Be safe. Take care. I love you all. And I'll catch you back.